Hey, y'all. So, a common question that I get from a lot of parents is how do we teach our kids this stuff? Helping our kids be mystical, helping our kids be spiritual without the way that they did it back when we were in church. Because a lot of us remember being kids in church, not wanting to be there, and thinking about your escape plan. It's like, okay, the moment I'm old enough to not have to go here, I'm out and they'll never see me again. In fact, most of us coming from Christian households, um, you've heard either your parents or other people's parents at the church say things along the lines of you train up a child in the way that they will go, and when they're old they will not depart from it. So parents valuing their kids being Christian make them go to church. They say no matter what, if I keep you in church, you'll always know God no matter what you do in your life. And what we usually see is just the fruit of that is kids grow up and they escape. They rarely ever stay at the church after they're old enough to leave. You might see them Christmas, Mother's Day, Easter, if we're being honest. And that's because that format doesn't work. You can't actually force spirituality on anyone. You can't force religion. It's like love. You can't force it. If it's forced, it's not real. So, my advice for parents is just to change your framework when it comes to introducing your children to a spiritual lifestyle, to their sonship journey. And in that, take the pressure off of them to be mystics. Take the pressure off of yourself to teach them all the stuff that you're learning now. Give both of yourself a break. And I'll say this, I've heard people say instead of buying your kids all the things you wish you had, teach them the things that you wish you know. There is some truth there. Eventually, you do get to the teaching and the sharing part, but we're going to start at the beginning. They're just born, right? This is it starts at birth, or it starts while they're still in the womb, because you have ideas that you have about who you want them to be, and your eyes and ears are closed to who they were sent as. Understand this, just as a principle of the way that the world works, is that children are the solution to whatever the parents had a problem with. That is baseline. You'll see this in countless families where the parents had a problem, the kid comes automatically without that problem. Even if they suffer because their parents still have that problem, it's not something in them. Children are the gifts to actually help the parents. So that means ego has to move out of the way. The authoritarian way that we were taught to raise kids, as in you spare the rod, you spoil the child, they must do what you say. There is some truth to maintaining a sense of authority, honor, and respect in a household that doesn't have to be as authoritarian or dictatorship like as a lot of us may have experienced. The truth is, a lot of us have this idea and it lingers. Even if you left from Christianity, you still hold this belief in the back of your head, which is why you say things like nobody's perfect. It's because you still believe that you're born in sin, shaping in iniquity. I want you to know that that was just David writing an R&B song about himself, just talking about the fact that his parents weren't married and he was illegitimate. And in that day, being an illegitimate child got you mistreated, which is why he's outside and all the other brothers are inside. He's tending the sheep and they get to go battle. He was talking about himself. That wasn't a declaration over you. No, that was him talking about him. You're not born in sin, shaping in iniquity. You don't have a debt to pay the moment you enter the world. Isn't that the number one argument concerning abortion? Is that children are automatically innocent? Who's more innocent than the unborn? Who's more innocent than a baby? Well, to my evangelicals that might come across my content for some reason, you kind of have to pick a post to stand on. Are we born in sin or are we born innocent? I believe we're born innocent, not just innocent, but I believe you're born as God. You're just in an ignorant state of your divinity because you're sent here as a solution, an avatar to a certain extent. All of us are. Meaning that there was a solution that heaven saw that earth needed, and you were sent as that. Who you are as a baby is the closest as God. Like you're closer to the divine as a baby. You get trained out of the codes that you were sent here in, as either your parents or just the world itself forces you to conform to it. So, parents, your number one step in parenting is figuring out what gift was sent to you from the heavens when you have a child. What codes do they carry? What problems are they sent to fix? What aspect of divinity are they meant to embody? Those are things that you should start to uncover and start to learn while they're still in the womb, so that while they're in that incubation process, you can begin speaking those things over them. You can begin preparing yourself for what that is. You can begin making space for that and already start them along that journey. Most of you can attest to this, that once you actually started to be healthy in your spirituality, the thing that you do now is what you tried to do as a kid. And that again is because childhood, infanthood, is divinity itself, just in an unexpressed form. Let's just say I do everything now that I tried to do when I was a kid, just not necessarily in the way that I thought I would do it as a kid. You know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a superhero. Now I have all these spiritual gifts and I'm out here helping people. That's kind of superhero-ish. So, and that's amongst other things. I wanted to be a scientist when I'm a kid. I've studied, science, history, and spirituality are my main areas of expertise. That's the stuff I wanted to know as a kid. I would finish my work early in school so I could go over to the bookshelf and get all the books about outer space and animals. I was reading the encyclopedia in the first, second, and third grade because I just wanted to know stuff. I wanted to know how things worked. I wanted to break it down to the mechanics. Oh, look, that's what I do now as a mystic. I've broken spirituality down to a science that can replicate results, meaning if you do this, you get that. If you stay consistent in this way, you get those results. That's stuff I was already working on as a kid. There were certain abilities I had as a kid that I'm just now starting to tap back into. My child self didn't need help learning how to see in the spirit, see angels and all that stuff. I got afraid because when I was a kid, a family friend jumped out of a closet and scared me, and that was the first time any of the things that I was seeing tried to harm me. So I made sure I don't want to see nothing else, and that happened. I was either 3 or 4. But I was still prophesying accurately and having dreams, not knowing what prophecy or dreams and stuff was supposed to be. It was a lot of things happening. I'm highlighting this because this is a lot of your stories. You were spiritual as a kid, and for some reason, one reason or another, you stopped the older that you got, and you're now trying to reclaim that. So don't make that mistake as a parent this time. Focus on cultivating the divinity that your child already is. And then as they mature, introduce them to the things that you know, the things that you've mastered, the things that you actually have wisdom on. Don't necessarily point them to another teacher per se. Oh, I like this guy. I'm not even telling you to have your kids listen to me, because that's not the point. It's about introducing them to actual spirit, introducing them to the Father, introducing them to Mother, introducing them to Yeshua, letting them experience the heavens themselves. As kids, they're going into, instead of having time out, instead of, all of these other things, they could be ascending and going into the heavens. Y'all could be having family meetings in upper realms if you prioritize that as a culture. So the other major point when it comes to mystical parenting is the representation of you. One of the reasons that churchianity failed, at least in my generation and really the generation before mine, is that we were watching people be devout at church and very different just as soon as they hit the parking lot. Sister so-and-so, brother so-and-so, we're going through the religious duties. They get in the parking lot. He's smoking. He drinking. You see him at the store. He cussing. He fighting. He drinking. He doing this and that. All these scandals. We're watching the hypocrisy of, oh, that's the world. They're evil. And we're the holy ones. But the holy ones are setting a bad example. So, parents, be mystics. If you want your kids to be spiritual, not religious. Even within spirituality, mean that you have your set dogma and you need them to follow it. No, be spirit filled, be spirit led, and be spiritually aware and live like that. Because people watch, especially kids, watch who you are and what you do most of the time. Which is why they say kids are so honest, is because they don't know that you're supposed to uh, put on a different mask depending on what building you're in. So they're watching mom and dad be normal people throughout the week, and then they get to this one place on this one day of the week, and all of a sudden uh, they're revivalists. No, be mystical at home, heal the sick at home, cast out demons at home, work with angels at home. Let it be real for you, embody it, and let your kids learn from your authenticity. That doesn't mean that they don't have free will and won't choose to do things on their own. Doesn't mean that they're going to do what you want them to do all the time. But this is your best bet when it comes to raising spiritual kids. Cultivate who they are instead of who you want them to be, and set a good example for them to follow throughout their life. Let's say on a baseline that kids have until they're 18 to leave home. That means you have 18 years to set a good example. The most formative years happen up until a child turns 8, which means in the area where you're like, that's just a kid, that's the time they're learning the most from you. Who are you showing them? What are you teaching them at that age? It's not the stuff that you think you're teaching them. You think you're only teaching them when you say, all right, let me show you something. No, they're watching you 24/7. So as parents, if you want mystical kids, you want to raise some little superheroes and sidekicks, you got to be super yourself. You got to be spiritual. You got to be supernatural. You got to be spiritual. You got to be mystical. You got to be all of that stuff yourself. Sensitive enough in the spirit to at least be able to discern who they're supposed to be. And that's my advice for y'all. If you want to raise spiritual kids, be spiritual and help them be who they were sent as. Take the pressure off of yourself. Take the pressure off of them. Just be great. So that concludes this session. If you're interested in more content like this, more teachings, more trainings, more classes and events, you can find everything related to me on my website, caveofmystery.org. There you can find Patreon, books, and really everything else. So make yourself at home. That concludes this session. Until next time, y'all be blessed. Later.